the ability to take data, to be able to understand it, to process it, to extract value from it, to visualize it, to communicate it is going to be a hugely important skill in the next decades. Now, this quote by Hal Varian, chief economist of Google, aptly highlights the importance that data-driven insights hold in our modern day and age. Now, data is truly the fuel of the future. The plethora of information required to successfully run an enterprise can come from a wide range of internal and external sources: financial and manufacturing applications, on-premise servers, cloud platforms, mobile devices, IoT sensors, social media sites, and so on. Now, as big data continues to grow bigger and starts to encompass all of the prominent global megatrends, the necessity of a sophisticated data management backbone, such as a data warehouse or a data lake, becomes increasingly crucial. Given the information-oriented nature of our technological world, even simply storing large pools of data has become insufficient. Unlocking the secrets that lie inside these overwhelming repositories using advancements such as ML to derive real-time actionable results is considered to be the future of our civilization. Joining us today is Mohan Srinivasan, the Vice President of the Center of Excellence for JAPAC Cloud Engineering at Oracle. Having been a part of this industry for almost 3 decades, his knowledge and expertise in the field of big data, data management, and ML-driven insights is unparalleled. So this is a great opportunity for our viewers to know all about data management. Mohan, thank you so much for joining us. Let's kickstart the conversation with a study. A study has shown that approximately 90% of data has been generated since 2016, and we've seen an exponential boom, especially in the past 2-3 years. Now, with such an overwhelming recent boom of data and information, how necessary is it for organizations to adopt a smart data management strategy? Your thoughts?
First of all, Gautam, thank you for inviting me for this conference, and very happy to meet your viewers. I think you talked about a very important aspect of how data itself is evolving. As you mentioned, since 2016, there's been a huge amount of data that's been generated. And if you look at the recent post-pandemic phase, that is just set to grow exponentially higher, right? And more importantly, the whole shift from on-premise or offline into online experiences is driving not just the generation of data, but actually gaining insights out of the data. So if you ask me whether it's important, it's absolutely important for organizations to look at a data management strategy. Just one perspective though, it's not so much about the quantum of data, but it's really about the ability to derive value from it. And that's also been proven where 50% of most businesses say that their entire sales and marketing strategies have been changed due to big data, right? So the shift is pretty much there. It's really about the ability to derive insights from that data.
All right, taking cue from what you said, it's not about the quantum of data, it's the insights that you derive from it. But those insights can only come when data is structured. And recent research has determined that 95% of all businesses use unstructured data. So given that data lakes are specifically designed to handle unstructured data, should fast-growing organizations look to shift from warehouses to lakes? Will this be a growing future trend in your opinion?
In my opinion and from my experience, it's not just a future trend. It actually is a trend that's happening as we speak. Not to say that data warehouses are going to go out of fashion, but like you said, if you have to go derive value out of unstructured data quickly, a data lake is what is where the industry is moving to and has moved to. In fact, it's actually moving into a much more simplified construct called the lakehouse. And we can talk about that. Predominantly, the advantage of having a data lake is fairly straightforward. All a data lake or a lakehouse does is allow enterprise to store all of its data, whether structured or unstructured, in a very cost-effective manner. Because with these volumes of data, cost is an overriding factor in terms of data storage and processing. The second thing that data lakes give you or lakehouses give you is an elastic environment, because you don't want to be paying for fixed resources. You need to have, scalable resources. You need to have on-demand resources. And finally, you need to have all the analytics that are there enabled for you, so that the time taken to derive new business insights is not a long cycle. So essentially, data lakes provide that capability. And Oracle, as you know, has been in the forefront. We've been a leader in data warehousing systems for the longest time. And it's just a natural extension for us, not just to rip and replace data warehousing systems, because they have an absolute value. They have a lot of historical information, but to take value out of what is existing in the data warehouses and combine that with the efficiencies that data lakes and lakehouses provide.
All right. For those enterprises who have not boarded the bus, now getting the most of data with data lakes and cloud technologies, that can often be harder than expected. So according to you, what are some of the prerequisites that organizations need to take care of before setting on this journey?
It's funny you mentioned that, because I was just reading a Harvard Business Report where companies have just begun to embark on this journey. So, and surprisingly, or probably not so surprisingly, it's not really a technological challenge, right? It's actually a cultural challenge. Giving up ownership of data, trying to get value out of it, or even the processes of having the ability to move, share, and govern the data is much harder than one would think, right? One would think that, yes, I've built a data warehouse, I have all of that in place. But when you're talking about aggregation of data in huge volumes from disparate resources, you've got to first examine yourself and dig deep. There's no point just following a fashion trend just to say that I'm on the gravy train of data lakes or data lake houses or whatever the newest acronym or fashion statement can be. But it's really examining the maturity of your organization to be there and to take advantage of all of these. So from my experience, it is really about looking at the digital maturity that you as an organization have. Second, what's more important in the days of today is really around governance of the data, because data, we all know, is the new oil, and it's a cliched term. But more importantly, it's about how do you protect that oil, because data privacy is paramount. You don't want data to be all over the place. You need to make sure that you stick to standards. You need to have governance procedures in place. And you can't have confidential or sensitive data floating all around. So these are all some of the challenges. Now, if you look at some of the other challenges that companies go through, right? Like I said, there are cultural challenges and there are technical challenges as well. So for example, a lot of the newer technologies means that employees need to upskill. And as you know, talent is at a premium today, right? So getting a new workforce in, getting them to understand and build these systems is a non-trivial task. So there are many dimensions to the whole aspect of jumping into a data project. So you need to have the maturity first. You need to have the ability to have processes that help you across the pipeline of data, whether it's ingestion, processing, more importantly, governance. And finally, as an organization, you need to be ready and skilled. And this is where a technology partner like Oracle can help you across all of these and get past a lot of these obstacles.
Right. And if data is the new oil, let's not forget that oil can be refined into different products and used in a variety of industries. So let's shift the conversation towards applications or use cases, Mohan. Given your vast experience in the industry, how do you think companies can effectively derive business insights using ML to link, correlate, and analyze different types of data and effectively use it to turn insights into new products or services? You could share your personal journey here as well.
Absolutely. And ML, again, is one of those buzzwords. It's there everywhere. If you're not doing ML, you're legacy, right? But again, ML by itself, the algorithms have been there for decades, right? Nothing new about it. It's really about the application. Now, from my personal perspective, again, it goes back to the maturity of the organization that needs to derive data. There are some organizations that don't have the adequate data science or the data engineering skills to go out and build systems of their own. For those type of companies, what we do offer is we have advanced AI and ML embedded in our software as a service platforms or SaaS platforms, right? We've always had the ability for people who are a lot more, should I say, custom oriented in building data models and specific. And if you take industries, right, you obviously have things around customer experience where you need to segment data, you need to build models, you need to have target audiences identified, and that might require a lot more customization. But if your organization is ready for it, has the skills, Oracle has been continuously enhancing our own products. So the Oracle database has had the ability for the longest time to run ML models in place closer to the data with all the security, and other things there. Oracle MySQL, which is Oracle's MySQL product, which we acquired many years ago, has many capabilities around both data and ML and auto ML, which allows you to automatically choose models, right? And there are a whole bunch of platform services around data processing, data integration, or data flow that allows you to do that. Now, again, it's horses for the courses, because depending on what you want to do with your data, could be, your industry just requires data to be processed in batch and then look at segmentation. Or you may need, if you're an online media house or if you're an online retail house, you want to go out and do those real-time offers right when the customer is looking at your website, right? And for that, again, a lot of technologies around streaming services are there in the Oracle stable. So we have in the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure platform a series of AI and ML services around vision, speech. NLP is a huge area where you're seeing dramatic advances in terms of how text and documents can be ingested and insights gained, right? And all of this is happening real time or near real time. So we're seeing a lot of applications. Personally, and you mentioned this, I've been seeing the shift from traditional reporting oriented data warehousing applications into what I just mentioned, right? Much more online, much more real time. And today, as we speak, we're working with large telecom companies, media houses, and with banks who are in various stages of this data journey. And we're setting up joint labs, because if I go back to my earlier point, the maturity of the organization is important. And we're seeing different levels of maturity. And for that, Oracle as an organization and my team specifically, we work with a lot of these customers, enabling them on their AI and ML journey to gain insights.
Absolutely. We do live in interesting times, but it also brings up an interesting dichotomy between cloud native businesses and those with a lot of legacy applications. And with the ongoing interest in big data and data management, Mohan, how is the architecture design for cloud native organizations and legacy businesses changing to incorporate it in your view? Do cloud native businesses have an advantage over their legacy counterparts?
So it's a multi-dimensional question, if you will. I think just the fact that, and I won't use the term legacy, I'll use a monolith versus cloud native, because that's probably more appropriate. Now, just because you have a monolithical application, it doesn't mean that you can't take advantage of all these new trends. So for example, if you have your data in a data lake or a lake house, you can use your existing tool sets, you can use your existing databases to connect to the lake, to process data, to do very deep and sophisticated analysis. And regardless of that, even if you're in a monolith application, you're going to gain advantage, right? Now, if you're going to look at scale, and that's what cloud native applications provide you, right? You're going to have the benefit of instant scalability, because you have actually decomposed your monolith or built completely new applications using cloud native methodologies and processes. And I think a fundamental aspect of that is the ability to rapidly scale up and scale down. Yeah, and these are some of the things that cloud native technologies provide. But again, if I look at it from an Oracle lens, and this is important because the customers that we deal with have been our customers for decades, we just can't discard the old and go with the new. We need to provide everybody a path, whether it's an existing application that needs to take advantage or completely new set of applications that are being built to take advantages of the scale, the performance, and the ability to write sophisticated applications there. So across our product families, whether, like I said, SaaS, or even if you take a platform as a service products on the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, we've got the ability to connect to existing data stores. So you could actually do a federated query between an Oracle database that you have your data in and a big data engine, a compute engine, if you will, right? And this is all transparent to the application that's querying for the data. So it's an easy way of moving existing customers into the modern. But again, if you're a completely new application and you're designing it from ground up, I would recommend that you would absolutely design it with the cloud native paradigm in mind, because it gives you the benefit of scale. It gives you the benefit of being able to distribute your applications geographically as well, and all the goodies that come with it. So it is the best of both worlds, and that's exactly what we want to do for our enterprise customers, Gautam.
The ways and means for monolithic organizations to catch up to cloud native businesses. But as we come to the last lap of this conversation, Mohan, let's look to the future. A strong data management backbone that can be undeniably beneficial for any enterprise. Now, for IT leaders looking to excel in this competitive environment, what are the benefits of embracing an ML driven future with, say, data warehouses, lakes, or lake houses, as you said?
So I think it's indisputable. It is now a data world. So it's no longer a database world or any other form. All data is good data. Yeah. So, and again, the benefits, like I said, if you look at some of the advantages that AI and ML brings you, and if you talked about unstructured data being the biggest explosion, right? I talked about NLP models. That's one excellent use case of why people need to look at data from disparate sources. You're also seeing the evolution of data becoming a product. So data itself is the product. And I think that's the mind shift that many of the IT leaders and IT organizations need to embrace, because when they look at data as a product, especially when you're trying to build a data lake or a lake house, where it's aggregating data from different sources, you need to then cater to different stakeholders of the business. And that's when you start looking at data as a product, you have a very, very different mindset of how to serve your customers and serve them in a very agile manner, in a way that they can go to market with the services that they need to do for the customers very, very quickly. So I think it's a mind shift, and people like me who come from the legacy world are still learning as we speak. But I think working with customers has been a very, very interesting experience, because we see the whole pattern, and I think leaders are very clear that they need to change. But again, if we go back to what we discussed before, just don't do it for the sake of fashion, right? Examine where you are. Be very, I would say, very hard on yourself in terms of your maturity curve. And once you get that right, you're just going to see, the ability of you to provide value to your business just go dramatically higher up, and you'll be the star of your company.
That's right. When you view data as a product, new possibilities open up for your enterprise. That's the message. That's the shift in mindset needed. Well, our discussion with Mohan Srinivasan has been an insightful experience, focusing on the world of modern data management repositories and the use of advancements such as ML to derive continuous real-time insights. Now, as big data continues to expand along with cloud-native technologies, our ability to make sense of staggering amounts of data needs to continually keep up. I'd like to thank Mohan for joining in this conversation and sharing with us his valuable thoughts into this growing industry. And of course, to our viewers, we hope to see all of you again soon in our future conversations. Till next time, this is your host, Gautam Srinivasan, signing off. Have a great day.